ES Audio.
From the Evening Standard in London, I'm Rochelle Travers, and this is The Leader. Eurovision 2023. Are you ready? For the first time in 25 years, the competition is back on UK soil, as we play host for last year's winner, Ukraine. The party atmosphere is already well underway in Liverpool, who beat out a number of other cities hoping to be the stage for the big event. Last time, Sam Ryder did the UK proud with his song Spaceman, but this year it's the turn of Mae Muller, who'll be hoping to win the competition, or at least a respectable finish, with her entry, I Wrote a Song. Here with me to discuss all things Eurovision and everything you need to know about the competition this year are...
I'm Professor Helen Julia Minors. I'm Head of School of Arts at York St John University. I do various things. I'm a trumpeter. I'm a massive Eurovision fan. I'm basically spend my entire life doing music-related things.
I'm Dr Paul Jordan. I'm an expert in Eurovision. I wrote my PhD on the politics behind the contest, a lifelong Eurovision fan as well, and I've been going to the contest since the year 2000. So the UK has won 5 times, but this is actually our 9th year of hosting, because in previous years we stepped in when other countries either couldn't or would chose not to do it. So, it's not unusual that we're picking up the reins for another country.
I think it's really good we're doing that. It shows how collaborative it is. You know, Eurovision's meant to be bringing everyone together, and it's exactly what it's about.
Absolutely. And I think, this is the first time since 1980 that the previous year's winner hasn't hosted, but these are really unprecedented circumstances. And I think it's entirely in keeping, with the support that the world has given to Ukraine, especially the UK. I think it's only right that we're picking up the reins. And as Sam Ryder, the UK entry last year, said, it's Ukraine's party, but we're having it at our house this year. And I think that's a really nice way of looking at it.
What do we know so far about the Eurovision final itself?
There's going to be a Ukrainian flavour to the proceedings this year. It's a co-production between the BBC and the Ukrainian broadcaster. So there's going to be definitely a reflection of Ukraine within the broadcast. Kalush Orchestra are going to perform. They're Ukraine's winners from last year. But we're also going to see the return of Sonia to the Eurovision stage. She's Liverpool's finest Eurovision singer. She came second 30 years ago in 1993, and she's returning to Eurovision. So I think for her, that'll be a really special moment. But there's also going to be Sam Ryder. The presenters this year, Graham Norton is doing what Terry Wogan did back in 98. He's doing a bit of commentary, then going to be running on stage to do some presenting. We've got Hannah Waddingham as well. We've got lots of different people doing lots of different things. Claire Sweeney's doing the commentary for radio, I believe, or the Red Button commentary. So if you want a kind of Scouse version of Eurovision commentary, she's your girl. So I think there's something for everyone this year.
I love the fact Graham Norton's going to be running on the stage. It is absolutely the highlight piece of news for me. Plus the fact Sam Ryder and Kalush Orchestra being back, because they're just so amazing.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I think it's taken Graham a few years, to make it his own. I think in the first few years, in 2009 when he started, it was a little bit like he was not sure of, the way in which he was going to go. It was a little bit like Terry Wogan. And actually now he's kind of made it his own, and he's got that right kind of, I think, tongue-in-cheek kind of element to it, but also does give it the respect that I think it deserves as well. And I think his commentary last year was brilliant. And you could tell that they were genuinely elated and emotional at the fact that Sam Ryder was doing so well. And I like the fact that he wasn't too down on Ukraine winning. Ukraine did have a good song. It wasn't a surprise that they won, but I don't think it's politics. I think it was more a showing of solidarity.
Do you think that Eurovision is getting more credibility in the UK? It used to be that a lot of people weren't really interested in the competition and would sort of roll their eyes if you said you were into it.
I think credibility is growing for it. I think because it's such a massive, dramatic theatrical production with all the costumes and the designs, the wonderful Eurovision cheese, plus the quality music, plus the lyrics, the whole statement that some of the songs are making about well-being, mental health, we've got issues of representation coming out. It's really meaningful for current generations, the next generation, and not just people like me who got into Eurovision through 1993 and Sonia, who's going to be back. That was the first one I remember. I think it's growing in credibility because of that. And I think people like yourself, Rochelle, doing these interviews and conversations and shining a light on why it's so important really help.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Helen just said there. And I think 1993 was also the first year that I properly remember. It's the one that I was allowed to watch all the way through. But yeah, no, I think it certainly has improved over the years. The credibility, I think, is growing. And interestingly, there is a younger audience, particularly following it on social media, particularly TikTok. So it's interesting that Sam Ryder did so well last year, having that big following too. And it's interesting that a lot of the critics who, go for Eurovision. They really don't like it. They criticize it every year, but they're also the people who haven't necessarily watched it for the past, 5 to 10 years. So it has changed and it has evolved. And yes, you get the odd silly song, but in the main, I think a lot of the music is reflective of contemporary music, and I think that's to be welcomed.
Let's go to the ads. Stay there to hear our rundown of the favourites of this year's competition, as well as predictions for how well the UK entry will do. Welcome back. Still with me are my Eurovision experts and superfans, Dr. Paul Jordan, aka Dr. Eurovision, and Professor Helen Julia Minors, head of the School of Arts at York St John University. Right, onto the juicy bit now, the music itself for 2023. Who are the favourites of this year's competition and some of your personal favourites?
Sweden's showing as a really hot favourite on a lot of the social media platforms, websites, certainly for the bookies. I just absolutely love the song. And, it's one of those where you sing and carry on. It's called Tattoo. The singer Loreen won in 2012 before. But I think there's something about that electrifying pop and the conversation of representation, plus the powerful voice that I've listened to it quite a lot. There's some I put on repeat and there's some you just listen to once and then you might go back to, but you might not. And this one I have listened to quite a few times, so I can see it's really strong. I would hope Ukraine would be a favourite again. I think the song's excellent, actually. I think the music video is great. It's really clear. If you go by the criteria, and I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to criteria, absolutely meets everything that's expected. There isn't that standout cheesy moment for me that's a bit different that could be on the top list, but I think Finland's probably up there. I know there's some conversations with different papers saying how important it is to be supporting Scandinavian countries for different political and united front reasons, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'm really keen that Ukraine does really well, but I do love the Swedish song.
And I think, Sweden's going to be an interesting one to watch. And I don't know if it's the expectation because she's previously won or because of the song itself. I think the song is strong. I think the performance is striking. And that's what you need with Eurovision. You need the visuals as well. And you need something which is unusual and stands out. That's why Israel won. That's why Portugal won, Netherlands. So I think definitely it ticks all those boxes. I think Finland is going to be the one that gets a public vote, though. I think that's going to capture the imagination. It's very striking, it's quite catchy, and there's nothing else like it, and that's the thing. You need something that's really unusual. If we go for something classy, though, I think France is a very classy entry. France haven't won since 1977. I'm not sure they're going to do it this year. They nearly won in 2021. I don't know. Yeah, I'm hoping also, in terms of a pop song, I think the UK entry is actually one of the best songs in the contest. It just depends on how it's staged, on her performance. Let's see how she performs live, and also coming right at the end. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, to be honest, because I think after 25 songs before, you've got 26 people. I'm not sure if they're already filling up the snack bowls and putting on the kettle or opening the fizz. I'm not sure if people are going to be paying attention. Really hope I'm wrong, but that's also what the juries are for.
But if it's a good visual performance as well, that could really impact. I mean, the music video for that's amazing. The whole miniature aspect of the diner and then the large aspect where she's inside, that's amazing. But the visual aspect for Sweden as well, I think the whole change of space, how that's going to be done live, I'm really keen to see that, really. I mean, our UK entry has got a wide fan base on TikTok, could help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where you see, Sweden, Loreen, you see her performance ability. She really is an incredible artist. And yeah, I think, with the UK, this is like night and day compared to what we were having 4 or 5 years ago. Absolutely. And, we've managed to turn a corner. Let's fingers crossed. Let's hope we do well. And let's hope that encourages other artists to come forward, because change does take time. And we saw in the Netherlands and Germany and even Sweden, to get the big artists involved and the big songwriters and record labels, it does take time. Let's hope that we're on the start of that journey.
I think we're definitely start that journey. I think, though, when you think about the class acts that you said, or something that could be considered traditional, bringing traditional folk music in to the performance, Spain has achieved that really well with the flamenco rhythms and the movements, and then fusing it with all the other things that are happening. It's really rich vocally as well. There's lots to explore, isn't it? It's like a sweet shop of different styles coming together.
And languages too. A lot of countries now singing, they don't always choose English. 10 years ago, most countries were, but now we're seeing a return to languages. We saw that Spain last year could do well. Portugal won in 2017 in Portuguese. So it doesn't always follow the rule. You have to sing an English language pop song. And that's refreshing, I think.
How much does it matter about the on-the-day performance? I know Loreen, Sweden's entry with her song Tattoo, it's already a massive hit across Europe. How much is it down to the performance during the actual competition as opposed to the promotion and how it's done in the run-up to it?
It's a bit of a mixture, to be honest. I think certainly having that following and having that kind of platform and that coverage doesn't hurt. I think it absolutely can help you. But it also does come down to the moment on the night. I mean, we've had big favourites before. Russia 2016, he was their biggest pop star, Sergei Lazarev. He didn't win, even though he won the public vote. I think Italy 2017, that was a massive favourite. Francesco Gabbani with the Dancing Gorilla. These were songs which everyone was saying there's nothing else going to beat them. They are the winners. And they didn't win on the night, and Italy didn't even come close. So I think it is that mixture of the build-up as well as the performance. And sometimes the build-up can put unrealistic expectations on the artist.
I agree with you, Paul. If the build-up's put unrealistic expectations, how the visuals play out, how the dance moves and how the vocals live play out, it can completely destroy or make the performance.
What is the official criteria that songs have to meet for Eurovision?
Main vocals have to be live. You're allowed pre-recorded backing vocals, but you're also not allowed more than 6 people on stage. So I think part of the reason why they introduced that backing rule was to allow more dancers. It was actually brought in during lockdown or during Eurovision 2021 to limit the number of people on stage and in delegations. But I think if you've got, 5 backing dancers, that then limits you in terms of your capacity to have backing singers. People tend not to be able to sing and dance well at the same time. So I think it was mainly to produce better performances for the artists, really.
I want to focus a bit more on Mae Muller now with her entry, I Wrote a Song. What do we think of the actual song and how well do you think it'll do?
I think the lyrics are really clear. I think it's really rhythmic and powerful. The music video is really strong. So the thing for me that will make or break this is how that music video is then performed live, because the visual aspect of the video adds to the narrative. Just very gestural, really, really engaging with it. But I think just because we're hosting and it's in the UK and we've, as you say, the Ukrainian parties at our house, I do wonder whether that will benefit the voting as well. But Mae Muller's got a TikTok fan base, a wide fan base already. So I think that's going to help. I generally think it's a good song. I agree with what Paul said earlier. It's a really strong song. The live performance of that will make or break how well it does for me. I don't know about you, Paul. What do you think?
I agree with you, Helen. I think it's that, trying to get that mixture of the jury and the public to like you and to vote for you. And I think the juries, if she's not good vocally, they will not go for it. Similarly, it's about recreating that music video. Russia did well in 2016. In terms of the song, I think it's really empowering. I think it's a really strong message. It's very much, about solidarity, empowerment, female empowerment. It's catchy, and I think it's something to be proud of. I just hope that it gets rewarded, hoping for top 15, top 10, maybe even top 5. But the problem is, at this stage, I've heard the song so many times, I lose sense of all sorts of perspective, really. So I think there is something.
I started thinking top 10 when I first heard it, but when you listen to everything so much, it becomes so second nature to hear it. Your brain's already got the end motif. I do like the empowering words to it, but it also makes me think of some of the empowering words in other songs. So Switzerland says we can make a change as they're going through. There's lots of that. This is the time to make a change. Yes, we've got a climate crisis. Yes, we've got a war. Let's do something about it. Let's not just sit and observe. And that it's like a call to change and not be passive. That is spread straight through. And I think Mae Muller's song really does that justice.
You can find out more about Eurovision on our website, standard.co.uk. And that's it from The Leader. This podcast is back on Monday at 4 p.m.